Steinberg has just released Cubase 15, one of its most uninspired updates in recent memory, and we're going to talk about it today. Hey everyone, we're back with another video in Cubase 15. It's been a while since I made one of these videos, and if you're wondering where I've been, well, I just wanted to wait till there was a giant, disgusting scab on my nose before I got back in front of the camera. And since I've accomplished that, I'm ready to roll. As you may have guessed from the thumbnail, this is going to be an old man yells at cloud type of video. Now I know that music YouTube is replete with videos like this. You got the boomer guy and you got the long hair guy. But I like saturation on my bass tracks and I like oversaturation in my YouTube algorithm. So I figured, why not me? I'm going to step up to the plate and give it a shot. Try to complain for 10 minutes and see how it goes. But before I do that, I just wanted to say that if you're looking for a comprehensive guide on all of the brand new features that are in Cubase 15, I would suggest you go to Steinberg's website where they're all listed, or if you want to check it out on YouTube, Chris Salim from Mixdown Online and Dom Sigalas do excellent videos where they'll take you through everything that you get with this update. I, on the other hand, am going to tell you about the things in this update that I found uninspiring, the things that I liked, and whether or not I regret my purchase. So, if it bleeds, it leads. Let's start with the negative stuff. Uninspiring new features. Number 1. Full screen in Mac OS. I use Windows in my studio, so when one of the features that you're trumpeting from the heavens as an incentive to upgrade to your new version doesn't even apply to me, I don't exactly feel seen. Number 2, the new hub. Do you know that thing that was an irrelevant afterthought in previous versions? Well, it's still an irrelevant afterthought, but it looks different, and I think, in my opinion, it's a little harder to use. For people who struggle with naming their files in a coherent manner, there's an audio preview feature that I'll never use. You can turn off the ads, which I guess is nice, but what grinds my gears is that things are, in my opinion, more difficult to see. My templates and projects were on separate pages before, and now they fight for the same real estate, which is mildly infuriating. Now don't get me wrong, the hub is okay. I like the hub as much as any other guy. I like being able to open the program and then choose which project I want instead of a professional program defaulting to the last project you were using, because that just wastes valuable time if that's not the one that you want. I know that a lot of programs do this, so I like the concept of a hub. I just don't think that redesigning the user interface of a hub is a particularly inspiring feature. The old one worked just fine. I'm sure this one will work just fine. It's just not an incentive to upgrade. Number 3, the melody pattern thing. This is the first feature listed on the website, so unlike the previous two, this one will theoretically be a selling point to a bunch of people. My beef with this feature is the same as my beef with the drum machine feature last year. I know that everyone has their own workflow, and this particular module is similar to how things work in other DAWs. I, however, choose Cubase because the MIDI editor and the drum editor are fantastic. I've spent hundreds of hours getting to know the ins and outs of those, and I don't really feel like learning a brand new way to input notes into my timeline. Now, I know that some people will find this useful, and I may come to realize that it's a good feature somewhere down the road, but for now, it just doesn't inspire me. Number 4, new expression maps. This one will be a huge selling point to people that do a lot of orchestral compositions. My orchestral compositions, however, are more modest than modest Mussorgskis. I do such sparse orchestral compositions that I usually just load up a different articulation per track. However, if you have these huge projects, the expression maps now will allow you to set delay compensation by key switch, which I think will be a game changer for people that are doing a lot of film and television work that involves orchestral libraries. Number 5, Groove Agent SE6. Now this beef is going to be super nitpicky, but there's a new Groove Agent in Cubase 15 called Groove Agent SE6. I love Groove Agent. I think it's one of the best drum machine plugins on the market, and I have the full version of Groove Agent 5. Now, the fact that Groove Agent SE6 is out, but Groove Agent 6 is not out, just means that pretty soon I'm going to have to shell out a few more dollars and upgrade to the full version. But with that being said, I think that I could get by doing about 95 to 98% of the stuff that I do in the full version of Groove Agent in Groove Agent SE. It is a pared down edition. It is not a neutered edition, and I think that it's awesome that they included in Cubase because that's where I got started using drum machine type plugins, and that's sort of where I live in terms of sequencing drums, which is one of the reasons that I didn't use the drum machine module last year. Okay, enough of the uninspiring stuff. Let's talk about the stuff that I did like. Number 1, stem separation. I've seen people complaining about this online, saying that stem separation has existed in other programs for years and there's online portals that you can use. And while that may be true and other vendors may offer a more feature-rich version of stem separation, will I be using stem separation exclusively in Cubase from here on out? Yes, and I'll tell you why. Pablo Escobar once said, "Good artists copy, great artists steal." But if I'm having difficulty finding a specific sound that I want, but I know it exists in the pantheon of recorded music, I can just use stem separation to extract that sound from an existing recording and sample it. That's what's called moving from good to great. I already use stem separation in these other programs all the time, but I hate having to switch away from Cubase and do it in another application. Either send it through an online portal or open up another audio station which takes exclusive control of my driver, do the stem separation, close that program, and re-import it into Cubase after loading a project. That's just a headache. The fact that it's all integrated within Cubase now means that I can import audio into Cubase, separate the stems, and once the stems are separated, that new stem-separated audio is automatically in my pool. It's a no-brainer, it's going to save me a ton of time, and I am so glad that they included it in this version of Cubase. Number 2, the Easy Mode Compressor. I think it's called Ultra Shaper, and it's awesome. I can already tell I'm going to use it all the time. I've used it on drums and on a full drum bus, and it is so easy to use. It sounds great. It's going to be probably one of my most used stock plugins after Frequency, which I use for EQ all the time, and including something like this, it's not a fancy hardware emulation, and it is a kind of an easy mode compressor where it's easy to dial in good sounds, but I'm all for it. Anything that saves me time and sounds good, I'm on board. Number 3, Omnivocal. I've played around with this a little bit and it's super fun. It's kind of like having a good singer with a speech impediment in your studio all the time. It's like if Nico from the Violent Femmes could sing on key and had a good voice. Does it sound weird? Of course. But it's fun to use and I can see myself reaching for it when I need backup vocals or just to sketch out a vocal part. It's kind of like the toy in the Happy Meal. It won't provide your child sustenance, but it'll bring them a little bit of joy. That's enough of the nice things. Let's get back to complaining now. There are a few things they didn't include in this update that I was wishing that they would include for a long time, and I just want to number them here. There's just 2 of them. One is one that I think that they should have included a long time ago, and one is one that I think they'll never include, so let's get into that. Number 1, the ability to rename inserts. I don't know if you can do this yet. I haven't tried in a while, but when I load up plugins, especially universal audio plugins, they're the chief offenders, I can't tell which one is loaded because the naming conventions of the plugins are so silly. If I want to rename it to channel strip or compressor, I can't. The names just get cut off, and that's no good for me. I would love to be able to see which inserts are on a track and differentiate between which ones I'm using so that I know that I opened the right one. An easier visual guide to inserts would be nice. Number 2, Linux support. I don't know if this one will ever get implemented, and I wouldn't even be able to use it in my current workflow if Native Instruments didn't also support Linux, because I use Native Instruments for a lot of my VST-Is and Steinberg for most of my sequencing, but Windows is about to suspend security updates for my perfectly functional studio PC in about a year for what, in my opinion, is absolutely no reason, and there's nothing I can do about it except for upgrade. Now, Macs are hella expensive, and it's super expensive to upgrade the storage and RAM is really what you want if you're going to build out a studio PC. If Linux could emerge as a third alternative, that would be awesome. I know that Steinberg just made the VST and ASIO protocols open source, so maybe they're turning a more friendly face towards the open source world. I'm sure that developers like Steinberg are a little leery of implementing Linux support because people run a million different configurations and a million different distributions, and there's no centralized OS to do troubleshooting, so the amount of user share would probably be 1%, and the amount of support tickets would probably be 90% if they implemented Linux support. And for that reason alone, I don't think they'll ever do it, and I feel stupid for even suggesting that they do it in the first place. I'm sorry. So we've covered the good and the bad and what they've left out. And you may be wondering, do I regret upgrading? And the answer is absolutely not. And I'm going to get into it. There are 2 main reasons. Number 1, implementation takes time. I see all these new features every year, and I upgrade every year. I don't know which features I'll use. Some features I'm stoked about, and I never end up using them. Some features I say I'll never use that, and they become integral to my workflow. Some things I can't wrap my head around right away, but eventually I see the vision. Maybe this Melody Maker thing is like that, maybe not. I have no way of knowing unless I have it in my current version of Cubase, and it's there for me to use, and I give it a shot. It's hard to make a video the day new features come out and pretend like I'm an expert in them, because I need time to figure out how they work. And even though I referred to this upgrade as mid, it may be one of the most consequential in years. Number 2, there's more to an update than just new features. Every video you see puts the new features front and center. That's the value proposition. You give us the money, you get these features. But there's more to it than that. You see, a software company is a lot like being a parent. Just as a parent will give the youngest child more love and attention because they love them more, a software company will shower its newest version with feature updates and bug fixes. As Cubase 14 is walking home in the rain without a coat, Cubase 15 is getting picked up from soccer practice and driven to Dairy Queen. That's just the way the world works. So in conclusion, to come back to what I said at the beginning, this is a relatively uninspiring update to Cubase, but it's important to remember that Cubase is just a tool to do a job. When I call my plumber, I don't want him to come over to inspire me. I want him to come over to unclog my toilet. Thomas Jefferson once said, audio production is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. I think that inspiration should come from lived experiences, not a software program, because we're human beings, not robots. So in the end, should you upgrade? Should you not upgrade? I don't know. It's up to you. But there's one thing that you should do. Like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.